So, welcome back if you're a returning visitor. And if you are new, thanks for joining me on this channel. So, today, let me get right to it. My guest is Martha Burich, and we're going to talk about raising children. She is the author of Yes, You Can Raise Happy, Responsible Children. And today, we're going to talk about how being a role model is important in parenting. Also, we're going to talk about setting boundaries and being the authority figure, and that is very necessary. The other thing we're going to talk about is parents should avoid trying to be their child's friend. So there's a lot of other topics, so let's get right into it. So let me ask right off the bat, why this book?
Well, I have gone through the process. My son is grown now. And when he was 4, my husband and I were so clueless from the time he was born. And we gave in to him all the time. We didn't know how to say no. For one thing, we thought it was not good parenting. We thought, oh my goodness, good parents, this child should be privileged, blah, blah, blah. Oh Lord, was I wrong. Anyway. But by the time he was 4, everybody was miserable. He was miserable. My husband, his dad was miserable. I was miserable. And I thought, we can't continue like this. Everybody's miserable. This child is so spoiled. My mother-in-law once said to me, she said, he'd be a good boy if he'd just take no for an answer. Because I would say no, but then he would pester me, and I just didn't want to deal with it, so I would finally give in. And I used to buy, Chuck, this is how bad it was. I would buy 2 toys, this exact same toy, because if he broke one, he would insist I go to the store to buy him a new one, and I would. So I thought, well, I'll just avoid that completely. I'll just buy 2 toys. The child had me totally under his control. Totally.
You know what? It amazes me how kids at a young age know what to do to get their way.
Yes.
It really does.
Exactly. And they know which parent who to get it from. And and this is a whole nother thing. Okay, each parent should have their own relationship with the child. There are certain things that, mom and dad need to agree upon. But, fathers are completely different than moms. And dad and children need both. They need the masculine and the feminine energy. And grandma and grandpa are different than mom and dad. Thank goodness. So the child needs to have their own relationship. I used to get really mad with my mom. We never spanked Anthony, didn't believe in it. And one time he was about 4, my mother and mother-in-law took him to the park, and he wouldn't listen to them. Of course, he was so spoiled. He wouldn't do what they said. So my mom just swatted him a little on the bottom. She didn't hurt him. She, got his attention. And she came home and she told me that. She goes, I swatted him once on the bottom. And I said, oh, Mom. Like I'm the know-it-all, right? My mother raised 3 children, and oh, I know everything. You know what? Let each person have their own relationship with them. As long as there's no physical or verbal abuse, we need to respond to different, and that's how we learning how to respond to different people. Because kids, when parents get divorced or separated or they're not getting along, those kids know how to play everybody off against the other.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about the dynamics between the child and the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Does there need to be a good parent, bad parent, like a good cop, bad cop thing, or no, not necessarily?
That's a really interesting question. Well, number one, do not be your child's friend. I mean, that should not be your
Thank
goal.
you.
You are the child's parent. You are the example. You need to be the example. You cannot be their friend because that's what their friends are for. And friends encourage people in some of the worst behavior. So you are their parent and their role model and the person they look to for advice as to what to do.
Yeah, and the reason I jumped right in and said thank you, I think that is one of the biggest crux of the problem today with kids and parents is a lot of the forgive me for anybody listening out there in the audience that's a younger parent, and I'm going to say this, when the parents consider and say that their child is their friend or best friend, like I said, there's no role model, there is no disciplinarian. Hey, you're my friend. No, I don't listen to my friend if I don't want to, and I tell my friend what to do if I want to.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's mistake number one, thinking that we should be our child's friend, because we're not helping them at all. They need a role model. They need someone to look up to.
Yeah.
And I really encourage parents, you know what? You need to be the good example. And that's what makes it difficult, because a lot of times we aren't very good examples.
Right. How how does a parent step away from being a friend? I know that's a silly sounding question, and it seems like it should be easy, but it seems like a lot of parents have a difficult time um, dividing that friendship and parent role, even though it shouldn't be that difficult. Um,
Well,
what's the clue? What's the key?
you're the ultimate authority, and your child needs to know that when you tell them they need to do something or not do something, it it means something. You know, when their friend says something, it's a suggestion. But when a parent says it, no, that's what needs to be done or not done. You know, so it's one thing to listen to your child and understand them, as we should, but it's another thing to let them get away with things that they shouldn't. And that's what happens when parents become friends instead of parents. You know, it really has to be, you know, I know you want to do that, but I can't let you. I'm your parent. And I don't think that that's best for you. And you need to trust me at this time. I'm going to give you a couple of reasons, but you don't want to believe them. But you need to know that I have your best interest in heart. And I only want what's best for you. So I need you to trust me.
Everything that you're saying is so sensible, reasonable, but I also come back to saying that I have seen some of my friends, or really my friends' kids who are old enough to have children,
Mm-hmm.
who have that difficult time of separating themselves from the child to be that disciplinarian. So everything that you're saying really resonates with me from what I've seen, and everything you're saying is so spot on. Uh, but so, again, I'm going to say so difficult at the same time. And I don't know if the reason is that, the parent needs to fix something in them because they're lonely or they're missing something. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, there's so much fear in parenting, and also, you know, I think, Chuck, most of us live in high school a lot of us until we die. We're reliving high school until we die, or our school years, if we don't get those sorted out. And you know what? It takes years and years and years to get that sorted out. So you pretty much relive your high school years or your college years with your child. So if you were lonely at school, oh my God, he's going to be lonely. She's going to be lonely. Oh my God, we've got to get him friends. One woman on Facebook, her child was 3, and she wanted the child to eat healthy. You know, no ultra processed foods, which are definitely a concern. When you have a food that is mainly chemicals and not food, it's concerning. So she wanted her child to eat healthy food, but she knew that at the daycare they would give them, you know, a lot of foods that really aren't healthy. But she was afraid to send a packed lunch with the 3-year-old because it might single her out and she would feel not part of the group. 3 years old. Now, you know, socialization is a strange thing. Unfortunately, because we're also concerned about being socialized, we overlook some very bad behavior. So, because we want to be accepted by the group, okay, let's say we're in kindergarten, and here comes a child who's disabled, maybe in a wheelchair. Well, if I'm a little 5-year-old who's concerned about being popular, I'm not going to befriend that child. I'm going to think, oh my goodness, they're going to think I'm weird. Or if there's a child who's lonely, I'm not going to befriend that child. Oh my goodness, they might think that I'm not good enough if I befriend that child. Well, then that's what happens. We make a world full of followers and not leaders. A leader goes up to the lonely child and says, come on, let's have lunch. Sit with me. A leader says, yeah, my mom packed my lunch because we don't eat that kind of stuff. You know, leaders do what needs to be done, and no matter what the group says, but we're not raising enough of them. And then here, you know, this mother was so concerned about her 3-year-old. And then, here's another one. A mother posted on Facebook that her 5-month-old, she's really doing exercises to help the child strengthen her muscles, and the child isn't rolling over yet. And I said, well, what's 5 months old? I said, well, what's the hurry? Oh, no hurry. I just like her to be on track. Well, people don't understand that all of these charts, this middle ground, is all made up stuff. They take a gazillion children or people, and then they put where, the middle, where they all fall in the middle. Well, I don't want to fall in the middle. And then everybody worries because their child falls at the lower end or not at the higher end or whatever, and they worry about that. Well, we all develop at our own pace. And I told the mother,
Right.
I said, did you not have to hold that child's head up until her neck muscles were strong enough? That child will roll over when her muscles are developed, and that's not a matter of you. This isn't baby gym, you know. This is
Yeah.
a matter of maturation of a child. Yes, you can help, but let's not put the cart before the horse and try to constantly keep this child on track. What does that mean, on track?
You know, a couple things I want to ask you. One of which is going to be on social media, how that plays into, like I said, this socialization and overthinking things and following these charts and listening to other people and trying to make your child uh, popular, and then they end up alienating or being followers. Um, do you think that parents follow too many? They're followers and they're following rules of other people, saying, "Hey, here's, like you said, here's the graph. My child is right here. My child is, you know, surpassing these things. Where's your child at?" Is that, that
Yeah.
sounds like it would be a harmful thing, is it?
It is. It's a real problem. And my mother told me, and we're going back a long time. My mother told me I was potty trained at 9 months. Uh, I'm sorry, Mom. That's humanly impossible. The muscles aren't developed until you're at least 2.5 to be toilet trained. So what my mother basically did was I lived on the toilet. She would just hold me after a meal. She'd hold me on the toilet or put me on this little potty seat, and I would just stay there until I guess did my business. Well, that's not potty training. No, Mom, I wasn't toilet trained at 9 months. But and
Uh,
but see, so she goes to her friends and goes, well, Martha's potty trained at 9 months. All these other parents are like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh, I got to get her out of diapers. Oh, my son's still in diapers. See, you have to trust your instinct, and this isn't, we're not in a comparison game. I think it was it Thomas Edison? At sixth grade, the teacher sent a letter home and said, your son's an idiot. He can't be taught. You really should take him out of school. And he did not know what the letter said. And when he asked his mother, he said, Mom, what's it say? She goes, oh my goodness, they tell me that you are so smart, you would be better off if I schooled you at home. So she did. Well, he didn't know about this letter until after she died, and he looked through her things, and there was the letter that said he was an idiot in sixth grade. Thomas Edison. Okay? Thanks to him, we have light. So, you know what? You can't go by what someone else says. You have to go by your own gut. And of course, you have to look around. There are children who don't speak. It takes them a long time to get to it. If we're following these, oh my goodness, he's not, he's not speaking well. He's not. And most entrepreneurs, we're not good students. See students and worse. So we really have to watch what it is that we're trying to gauge our children by.
it also sounds like positive encouragement really, it really helps.
Oh, definitely.
And I suppose that is where you are the parent, the disciplinarian, and not a friend. So,
But you have to be an encourager. You absolutely have to be an encourager. And that means, okay, the child's learning to tie their shoe. Well, they're not going to tie it. They're not going to tie it correctly for a long time. But you know what? You say, oh my goodness, you put that loop, you got that lace over, oh, you tied it, you got that half done, you got that lace over right. Every little thing, when they're 2 years old, they can pour the flour into the bowl if you're cooking. They can help you do things. A 1-year-old can match socks. A 1-year-old, because they know. And a 1-year-old, by the time they're one, they will put a book right side up. They know the right direction of the book, and they will turn it right side up for reading.
now, I got to ask you because everything that you're saying, once again, is so spot on from my point of view. Like I said, I'm not a professional or anything. Do you have a background in education in child development?
Yes, yes, I taught child psychology for 10 years at the college level, and then I taught high school science for 16 years. And you know what? High school kids are just big kids. In fact, everybody's really
Hmm.
just a big kid. Everybody's really just a big kid. So if you
Yeah.
learn how to handle high schoolers, in fact, I go to the jail every Monday to talk to the addicts and alcoholics. And why do I do it? Because I was a high school teacher. I figure, you know, that's of course I can handle inmates. What? What? I was a high school teacher. I can handle anything. I had one student one time. He said to me, "Move your fat ass." Now I'm in a classroom full of kids, and this child says that to me. And I thought, okay, Martha, what are you going to do now? And because I knew if I was to, get offended or whatever, he wins, right? Everybody'd be like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so I thought, all right, all right, I know what to do. I said, well, my arms and legs are fat too. You didn't say anything about them. That put an end to it.
Yes, yes, and I mean, I'm going to say this. That goes for everything. If you go into the bullying kind of thing, it was because that student, that child, was trying to bully you,
Mm-hmm.
and you did not give in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's another thing that parents have to realize is, whether it's a young child or an older child, if they start crying or screaming or whatever to get their way, that's a form of, I would call it
Bullying.
bullying. They're trying to control and manipulate you.
Mm-hmm. But you can also
But
understand their feelings, because when I don't get what I want, I get mad. You know, oh,
yes.
darn, I really want that. So when the child says that, you can say, you know what, I can hear you really wanted that, and you're really disappointed, and I feel bad for you. And that's one time my son came to me. I think he was about 8 or 9, and he had gone with his friend and his friend's dad to the store. Well, the friend's father bought his son a toy, but he didn't get Anthony anything. So Anthony came home, and oh, he was mad. And he was like, and he didn't buy me anything. And I said, well, why would he? You're not his son. And Anthony looked at me and he said, you don't understand. I'm never telling you anything again. And I realized that, instead of hearing how he was hurt, he was
Hmm.
hurt. It wasn't just a matter of I didn't get a toy. He was hurt. And I said, oh, I really apologize. Please tell me again, and I'll listen. In fact, it's making me, even thinking about it is getting me emotional. And he did. He gave me another chance. He told me the exact same story again. And I said, sounds like you're really hurt. And it sounds like, wow, you think he should have bought you a toy. And I can certainly understand that.
Listening to you tell me that story, I can also see where it can be a difficult thing for parents to not allow the child to be on uh, that same level as a parent, because some parents doing that raise their child up to their level. Now we're on the same level, but all you did was really apologize and ask,
Mm-hmm.
what is it, how you're feeling. You didn't bring that child to your level to say, we're both adults here,
Mm-hmm.
let's have a discussion. It wasn't that, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, that too. We need to have discussions. Children will grow up a lot quicker if we have a discussion. But I needed to hear him and understand he has feelings. I think that a lot of people really do suffer a lot of trauma because nobody hears their feelings. Their
Hmm.
parents, either in the attempt to be their friend or their disciplinarian, don't hear, like the child is having a tantrum. You can say, I really understand you wanted that, and I need you to come with me. I need you to, stand up and let's go. Or with a tantrum, you can distract them. If you're at the grocery store and the child's on the floor having a fit, you can go, is that a mouse? Just is that Barney? Did Barney just go out of the house? Just
Did you have to do that with Anthony?
well, he was so spoiled. In fact, one day I took and this is the whole point. I took parenting lessons 1 hour a week for 8 weeks, and my husband didn't. His dad didn't attend. It was just me, and I was there with some other parents, And every week, okay, we studied one thing every week. I think the first week we studied just say positive things to your child. No matter what they do, don't criticize, just say positive things. Only notice the good. And so every week I did exactly what they told me to do. And every week I would come back and they'd say how'd it go, and I'd be like, "Whoa, it's really working. That really worked." But the other parents would be like, "Nah, it didn't work so good." And I would hear this week after week, and I would think, "What's going on here?" But now I knew. I found out what was going on. I was doing what they told me to do, and when it didn't work the first time, I kept trying. I did not give up. I thought, these people, this book and these people tell me this works. It is going to work. And I'm going to keep pushing. And I'll be darned. Good Lord, we had an entirely different child. One time, Anthony said to me, God, he was such a little smart aleck. He said, I forgot exactly what it was, but he looked at me and he said, "Are you trying to use that psychology stuff on me again?" And I said, "Yes, I am, dear." And he goes, "Well, it doesn't work." Well, he was completely wrong. It was working really well.
Oh, that's funny. I forgot to ask you, in your book, yes, you can raise happy, responsible children. Do you have different methods and different steps in there on how to do these things that you're
It
talking
is,
about?
Chuck, this book is like 50 little pages. It's nothing but bullet points. Okay, at the grocery store, what do you do? Boom, 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 boom. When you're eating, at meals, when you travel, what do you do? Boom, 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 boom. Number one, when you travel, when you go anywhere with your child, have a bag of toys, books, crayons, markers, paper. Always be prepared. And I really, really, really do not, if you have a car and you show your kids movies while you're driving, not a good idea. This constant
Oh,
entertainment society is not helpful. It's better to have them in the back seat and you say, "Let's look for all the red cars. Tell me when you see a red car. Do you know what kind it is? Let's look for all the stop signs. Let's look for the number 3. Where do you see the number 3?" Have them constantly looking and interacting. "Oh my goodness, why do you think that car just went around me? What do you think is happening?" Ask them what they think is happening about things. Make them think, because this constant entertainment culture is getting our children and our adults are becoming attention deficit disorder. I notice myself. I'm scrolling on Facebook, and 30 minutes have gone by. I'm like, what?
yeah.
I just wasted 30 minutes watching a dog. What?
It's so interesting about that for both children and adults, how you say that all of a sudden you realize 30 minutes have gone by, but we don't, oftentimes we're looking for that quick fix, so we scroll through, constantly moving through things. Nope, don't want that. Nope. Oh, 1 second later. Nope, nope.
Right.
But we're not watching anything, but we're wasting time.
Mm-hmm.
And I do really like your suggestion about being in the car. I remember the days of slug bug and things like that, red bug, and I don't know if kids still do that, but all these entertainment system in cars,
Mm-hmm.
and I would imagine they do exactly what you're saying. Parents, you're using the television
Mm-hmm.
to
Right.
occupy their child so they won't say anything.
Right, yeah, and then the child is getting someone else's opinions and thoughts about everything. There's this movie, I can't remember the name of it. A friend of mine really recommended it to me. It's, it's something for children, but if you'll notice, a lot of children's movies are drama after drama after drama. The central character is constantly going through, like in this particular, I can't remember the name of it, the girl was going to cry. And so all of her internal little bodies were in there like, oh my goodness, oh, she was with kids and they hurt her feelings and she was going to cry. A tear was going to fall. So all the things internal in her head were like, no, you can't let that tear come out. And it was always constant drama, 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 drama. And I was like, what are we teaching children with constant drama? Lives are not supposed to be constant drama. And when things happen that we don't like, the proper response is, how can I take care of this? How can I take care of this? What can I do to fix this? Not, why did this happen to me? But, okay, now that I'm confronted with this, what am I going to do to fix this?
You not that I watch a lot or any children's shows or movies, but I have come across a few. But you're right. Now that I think about it, oftentimes they show them in some sort of crisis,
Right,
uh,
right.
which, yeah, would always put that child. I would think in a
It's
kind
got,
of like a
yeah,
bad
it's got
place.
their blood pressures rising, and
Yeah.
their heart rate's going, and it's like, oh my goodness, and it's not in their best interest. We really have to be careful. And there's always so many bad people in these movies, these children's movies. There's always bad people. I remember Cruella de Vil, 101 Dalmatians. There's always these terrible bad people, and that's really not how life is, from what I've seen. I've come
Yeah.
across very few really bad people, and I go into the jail every week. Not that there aren't, not that there aren't. Of course there are, but to
Hmm.
constantly think that there's always a bad person right around the corner. And okay, now we have another story. Years ago, I was in line at a haunted house, and there was a woman in front of me, and I think her son was like 3, and he said, "Oh, Mom, this is scary. This is gonna scare me. This is gonna scare me. I don't want to go." And the mother said, "No, it's not scary." What? We're in line at a haunted house, Chuck. And I said to her, I said, "Be honest with him. This is a haunted house. Yes, it is scary. Nobody's going to hurt him. Tell him the truth. But
Right.
yes, that's why we're standing in this line. We want to be scared." But don't, because when we tell children that what they know isn't true, they get a disconnect in their mind and they don't believe themselves. So then when they really are in a bad, dangerous situation, they're like, "Well, I don't know if it really is or not. Because the last time I thought this, my mom told me it really wasn't that it wasn't going to be that bad. So I must be wrong. My thoughts and feelings must be wrong." No, no. Our gut instincts are usually very correct. But when we
Yeah.
make children discount their own beliefs and feelings, it's like a child wakes up from a nap and she goes, "I'm still tired, Mommy, I'm still tired." "Oh, how could you be tired? You just woke up." Well, guess what? The child's still tired. All you have to say is, "Well, you know what? You just woke up and you're still tired." Oh, goodness. What do you think? You think you need to sleep more, or do you think that you're going to feel better in a little bit? You just acknowledge what the child says. Don't deny it.
Yeah. Um, Again, everything that you're saying really sounds like the sensible thing to do,
Mm.
but a lot of parents, uh, I don't like using the word fail, but they fail at doing that.
Well, they try, and we have our society now is very different than it used to be.
Hmm.
And parents are judged. No matter what they do, they're always on the defensive on what they feed their children, what they say to their children, how the children act when they go out. There's always somebody that has something to say. Well, parents, if somebody says something about your parenting, here's what you say. You say, "Thank you very much for letting me know. I'll take it under consideration." Or, now I know. Thank you. That's all you got to do. You don't have to change anything. You don't have to do anything. Just thank you for letting me know. Because most people say things because they want to be helpful. They don't mean to be mean. And
Yeah.
it happens inadvertently. And here's another story. Okay, this girl, um, she was all upset because a man at the grocery store, an older man, had said to her, "You'd be very pretty if you would lose a few pounds." And she was just beside herself. "Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, how could he say such a mean thing to me?" And most people were like, "Oh my goodness, you're right, hon, he's a mean man." And I said, "Well, let's look at it this way. Very few people, strangers especially, are just going to come up to you and insult you. I believe he was really thinking about you and your health and wanting the best for you. And he told you what he thought was the best for you, that, it would be best for you if you lost a few pounds. No reason for you to be insulted. All you have to say is, 'Well, thank you for telling me. I appreciate your concern.'"
Yeah. Yeah. It's, again, someone is so much of this um, is simple to do yet difficult to do. It's I'm glad I'm not a parent.
No. Even
No, I wish.
dog parents have problems.
Oh, you're absolutely right. You are right. And I want to make sure that people know where they can go to find your book and get more information. Again, because this is really, really helpful. Even though I'm not a parent, it allows me to be able to look and say and understand what's going on between like my friends' kids. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's
Mm-hmm.
and not to butt in on anybody's business, but maybe I could, you know, do a little elbow thing to my friend, say, "Hey, maybe you should tell your kid do it like this," or ask a question. But where would they go to find your book and to
Well,
find you?
you can go to my website, marthaburich.com, and I have a free resource for you, an article I wrote, How to Change Your Life Now, which will have a couple of things in there that will help you with your parenting. But also, I am changing over the website, but marthaburich.com.
Martha, is there a critical age? I don't know how to phrase this, but is there a time frame that is more important to make sure that we do these right things, if at all possible? Is it like up to the age of 5, make sure you do these things, or is it, age of 10? I know we should do it all the time, but is there that critical age?
Well, from the time the child's born, you want to start reading and showing books
Mm-hmm.
and things, okay? And you know what? Step parents come into children's lives. Um, Expose your children, take your children out to as many places as possible, the zoo, the museums, the grocery stores, and introduce them to people even from the time they're babies. Let them experience the world, because they will do a lot better in life the more experiences they have to draw from. But I don't like to, I don't want anybody to get caught up in this, oh my goodness, I got to do it now. If I don't do this, by the time
Okay.
he's 2 no, because different people come into children's lives at different times, and plus children develop at different stages. So just do the best you can, and be a loving parent and listen to your child, and don't indulge them. When you say no, mean it. Don't change it to yes, because you're going to suffer. That's suffering, let me tell you. I know from past experience.
Well, I'm glad you clarified that, because we did talk about this in the very, very beginning as far as the graphs and the lines go. And here I ask, for the frontal lobe, the grade,
Yeah, right.
when do you need to be able to do this to a child? But like I said, I imagine then it's a work in progress from the moment the child is born. And like I said, everybody is on a different pace.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, they are.
Oh. Well, once again, folks, Martha Burich. The book is Yes, You Can Raise Happy, Responsible Children. Uh, Go to her website. I'll have all the notes in the show description so you can find her. Martha, before we leave, is there any one big tip that you can give to a child, a younger person who's listening, whether they're going to become a parent or they just happen to stop by and listen to this? What can they do to help themselves or help their parents?
You know what? Nobody's perfect. And I guess we'd all be perfect if we were raised by robots, but who wants to be raised by a robot? Forgive yourself for whatever you've done wrong. Forgive anybody else that have done you wrong, which doesn't mean that they shouldn't have to suffer consequences. It's a whole other story. But just, you know what? Let people be people, and just move. Do your best today. If you do your best today, tomorrow will definitely be great.